Shalom, welcome back to Talking Torah. I'm Rabbi Charles Klein, and this is Rabbi
Ravid,
and we're here to talk some Torah with you. This week, we turn to the Parsha of Toldot, and the story is a fascinating story, many turns along the way, and really a formative story for the Jewish people. You know, Rabbi, I was thinking, there's a lot in here about family dynamics and about communication within the family. Now, I like the way the Torah reading begins. I like that, Isaac, Yitzchak, recognizing that Rebekah was having trouble conceiving. It says there that in the Torah that he prays to God, Lenochach Ishto, right in front of his wife, that, he's feeling very much her pain, her sense of being lost without a child. And then immediately thereafter, Rebekah, she wants to follow suit, and so she goes to inquire and to ask God in prayer for a child. And she's told she's going to have twins, right? And it says there in the Torah that the older will serve the younger. It's all set up. Everything is there. Now, later on in the well-known story, when it comes time for Isaac to bless these two sons, these twins, it appears that he wants to bless the older one, Esau, and not the younger one, Yaakov, Jacob. So, whereas Rebekah was told that the younger one is going to receive the blessing, the full blessing, the deepest blessing, the most significant blessing, Yitzchak seems to be ready to offer it to the older one, to Esau. And I'm bothered by it because wouldn't you think that if Rivka was told by God that indeed it was going to be Yaakov who should get the blessing, that she just may have over the many, many years shared that news with Isaac?
Right. I'm not even certain that she didn't share that news. I understand the problem. The problem is that Rebekah knows that Esau is supposed to serve Jacob, that Jacob is supposed to get the blessing, and Isaac doesn't seem it doesn't seem like he goes along with that plan, and that is problematic. But I think that the drop in communication, maybe she did tell him, but where the drop in communication comes in is the favoritism. Is that where Isaac favors Esau because Esau is a great hunter, and literally it says that Isaac liked the way that Esau cooked. He had the taste in his mouth, and he liked that. And so that's why it says that Isaac loved Esau and Rebekah loved Jacob. And so that favoritism is where the communication breaks down. Maybe he did know and he just couldn't stand to not give the blessing to the one that he loved more.
So maybe when the Torah describes Isaac, Yitzchak as being blind.
Right.
Okay? He's described as being blind just at the time that the blessing is to be dispensed, is to be given. So maybe he's blind to what is really God's will in this whole issue. Maybe he's blind because, as you suggest, the favoritism. But in any event, Isaac, going by your interpretation, chooses to ignore what Rebekah has to say, because he has this special love for Esau. Now, so therefore, then you say to yourself, okay, look, you're a father, I'm a father, I have 4 children, you have Avishai.
He's my favorite.
He's your favorite.
Yeah.
And you know that one of the things we shouldn't do is to show favoritism to children. Yes, as a parent, we want to somehow key into each child's strengths where we can and understand their weaknesses and try to help them through them. But Isaac doesn't seem to have that 20th or 21st century perspective. Right. Nor does Rebekah. And the problem is look where it ends up. Look where it ends up. And the fact of the matter is, it's not so much different today, is it? I mean, Rebecca favors Jacob, Isaac favors Esau, family dissolution, family hostility, and the same thing happens today, very often.
And the favoritism is really based on selfishness by the parents. Isaac prefers Esau because of what Esau is able to provide for Isaac's belly.
Right.
And Rebecca favors Jacob because he's kind of a homebody and is able to help Rebecca out with the chores and the responsibilities that she has. And so the fact is, it's not only that they're loving these other children, they're loving the one child more than the other out of good-heartedness. They are actually blinded by their own needs, and that the children are able to provide for. And that, the bringing us back to the original point, that's where the communication is lost. They have different needs, and so they favor different children, and they lose each other in trying to serve their own needs, as opposed to what we know would be the ideal, which is looking out for the other and trying to care more about the other's needs than the own self.
And if I picked up on something you were saying, in the process, look what happens to Isaac and Rebekah. You know, last week, as the Torah ends, you have love, right? It's the only time in the Torah that you really hear about love between one person and another. And the Torah reading this week starts off with tremendous love. Isaac is in there praying for his wife to have a child. And at the end of the Parsha, they're in almost combat with each other over which child is going to receive the particular blessing.
They're deceptive.
Right. Yeah. And it's all changed for the worse. It's all changed for the worse, which I think brings us back again full circle to the issue of communication. Here you have a couple that were so in love. They were so in love earlier on. They seem to have lost the way, and it seems to be around communication issues, which are vexing, and which, as we know, still today, are the single greatest source of family problems, the communication issues. We're going to conclude at least our formal section of Talking Torah. We'll continue to do this every so often as we meet, but we look forward to seeing you again next week on Talking Torah. Until then, we say shalom v'lehitraot.
Shalom.